Hello and welcome to Retirement Mile by Mile. We have made it to Taipei. So I thought I would take a little time to talk about how we got here, why we used the flights we did, and how it went. So this is Retirement Mile by Mile. I'm Nancy and I help you make the most of your travel dollars in retirement using points and miles. So this redemption started about a year ago. I decided that I wanted to go to Southeast Asia, and one of the important things when you're doing redemptions is to be flexible. So I looked at the whole region and to see where we could fly into, and I kept finding flights to Taipei, Taiwan from LAX, our home airport, that were available through Aeroplan, that's Air Canada's points and miles system, for a very reasonable price. The only issue was they only release one business class seat per flight. However, there's something very interesting about the flights that go out of LAX that you can book with Aeroplan. They are EVA Air flights, and they do 2 a night, and they leave about 30 minutes apart. So what I did was book my husband on one flight and myself on the other flight that leave only 30 minutes apart from LAX. Now, I did this a year ago, and something weird happens when you book things that far out. I started to doubt what I really had booked, so I kept checking and I just like, I don't understand why they have these 2 flights. Well, when we got to the airport, it became clear. There was this huge line of people waiting to check their luggage into EVA Air, and I talked to one of the agents just sort of in passing, and he's like, yep, there are 2 flights every night, leave only 20 minutes apart, or whatever it is, 35 minutes apart. And there's a lot of luggage. Everybody there had a ton of luggage. We did not. So we were instructed to get into this great big long line. We get in the back of this line, and somebody from EVA Air starts coming through and asking for business class passengers. So that's us. We get scooted up to the front where there's no line. Pretty fantastic. And we are able to check in very quickly. So let me tell you how much these flights cost with points. They were 75,000 Aeroplan points. Again, that's Air Canada's points and miles program. And I transferred from Chase Ultimate Reward points into Aeroplan, and I did so with a bonus, and I don't have my notes with me. I don't know how much that bonus was. It was probably 20-25% bonus. So I was able to book these for about 120,000 points for the 2 flights, plus $80 Canadian in taxes and fees. So super reasonable to get across the Pacific for that amount of money. Okay, so how did it go? I was thinking that because we were on these 2 flights that were very close together, that they might be able to switch one of us to the other flight. They were not. They tried. I have to give them credit. I asked 3 different people behind the counter, and they went to the manager, this and that. And basically he came to us and said, you know, you booked these with Air Canada and we can't change them. And you know what? That was what I bought into. Okay, fine. So we checked in. We gave the attendant our global entry card. So this is something, if you have global entry, don't forget to give it to them right there as you check in. They add your TSA pre-check to the boarding pass. And then at LAX, we got to avoid that great big line to the right, and we went to the left and straight through TSA, very short line. So if you have that global entry, or you have it available on one of your credit cards, many of them will reimburse you for global entry. It is fantastic. So we very quickly got through that. We were able to use the Star Alliance Lounge, and that's the alliance that Air Canada and EVA Air are in. And so when we got there, very nice lounge. It was Not very full when we first got there. We were very early for our flight. We watched a little bit of a football game. We went out onto the terrace and enjoyed their uh, fire pits for a little while, and we sat out there for a little while enjoying the evening air. And then we went in, and it was packed. I guess all the business class customers from those two flights had shown up at that lounge, and it was pretty full. So we were able to find some seats, get some food, and then we were on our way to our separate gates. And so then once we got there, we hung around at our gates for a little while. We are people who like to get there early and be comfortable before we get on the flight, and that's absolutely what we did. Walked around a while, and then when it came time for me to board, I said goodbye to my husband, see you on the other side of the ocean, and we got onto our separate flights. I was a little nervous about how that was going to work out when we got on the other end, but let me tell you, it was fine. I got there. I was able to stay. I was first, so I was able to stay where I arrived at the arrival gates. And it was a bit of a walk towards the one that he was at, but I was able to walk down there, kind of wander around for 20 minutes or whatever it was. And then I met him right as he was coming off his plane, and we went through customs together. So that was very good. I want to give you a tip about if you are flying into Taipei, you can fill out your arrival card for customs beforehand, and they do not have paper cards. You're going to have to do it on your phone even if you're there in the airport. So you could do it ahead of time. You could do it on the flight up to 3 days before. So that's just a tip for you if you're flying into Taipei. All right, the flight itself. Man, business class is a game changer. It is just such a refreshing way to fly. So instead of dreading that 14-hour flight like I would if I was in economy, you feel like, oh, this is going to be fun and it's going to be relaxing. So we got on, we got a very nice dinner, and then the seat folds down completely flat, and they give you a nice blanket, and they give you PJs. So here are my PJs from the airline. They have a cute little red panda on them. So got into my PJs, brushed my teeth, and went to sleep like it was, a good night's sleep. So I slept about 6 hours. I think my husband slept about 8. He told me, and we used Google Maps to figure out how to get from the airport, which is about an hour outside the city, into Taipei itself. And we had a couple of choices. We could have gone on the metro, but we chose a bus that would take us directly, it had a few stops, but it was very close to where our hotel was, and we didn't have to switch in the middle. And it was the morning commute time, so we wanted to make sure that we got on that bus. That bus cost us $6.50, and it's a pretty long ride. So for $12, $13, we were able to get into the city very easily, very comfortably, in style, as you can see. And then we got to our hotel. Now, our hotel is a Hyatt hotel. It is an Episode, or it's called Episode by Hyatt, but it's a JDV is their brand. And it's their kind of funky brand hotel, and their theme here is music. So they have a lot of albums in the lobby, and they have CDs that you can take to your room. We haven't really taken advantage of that, but it's just kind of a cool vibe. The other thing about Hyatt is they have what's called Brand Explorer. So if you book 4 different brands, once you reach 4 different brands in Hyatt, you get a free night. So this one's going to help me reach that free night because this is a brand I haven't stayed in before. The cost here was 12,000 points a night, which isn't a great deal, but I consider those points free. Yeah. So I'd say that we had 2 free nights here in Taipei at the Episode. Again, those points are transferred from Chase Ultimate Reward over to the Hyatt program, and then I was able to book 2 nights at the Episode Hyatt, and that's what I'm in right now. Then after we're done with those 2 nights, we are going to go stay closer to the airport because it is an hour away, and that's at a Hyatt Regency, and that's a new brand for me as well, so that'll get me closer to that brand explorer. All right, well, once we got here, we got to our hotel. We were able to check our bags into their luggage room. They had some free snacks. We were able to relax a little bit, but it was still only like 8:30 in the morning. So it was time to explore the city. And what we decided to do the first day is go to the zoo. And this is just a really relaxing way to spend a first day, because once we got to the zoo, you know what zoos are like. You go look at the animals. They had some great animals. They had a giant panda. They had red pandas. And one of the animal that I wanted to see the most was the pangolin. And we looked in these enclosures, we looked under the rocks, under the trees, and this is the only pangolin we saw, was the statue in front of the exhibit. So a little disappointed there, but not disappointed with this zoo. It was huge, it was lovely, the enclosures were large, and the animals looked like they had a lot of mental stimulation. I mean, it was just well run. And one of the highlights for us was there was a section of the zoo that just was basically a hiking path, and it went along a stream, and we walked up that, and we just enjoyed the natural beauty of this tropical island. So that was great outing for our first day. All right, we ended the evening back at our hotel where they had a complimentary happy hour, so we could have a glass of wine, have a little bit of snacks, and then we were in bed by 6:30. So we haven't quite made the time change yet, but we're working on it. So that was how we got to Southeast Asia, was to fly from LAX to Taipei and use those points to do it. So we are feeling very fortunate to be able to have this adventure. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.